Hello and welcome to Dice on Ice. I am Connor Davies, our Dungeon Master tonight, and this is Crifoth Reclamation. I have to say this verbally because there was no visual cue, as this is a Crifoth game in the slightest. Is a little bit of blood splatter, but that's not quite indicative of what Crifoth's all about. You might notice something a little bit different about this overlay tonight. You'll notice that one person is completely absent, this person here, this one, sorry. While there is another person completely beneath me who you've never seen before in your life. He'll be a guest joining us tonight at some point in this game. If I was a smart DM, I'd know exactly when. But I'm not a smart DM, and these are not smart players, and thus we enter the world of Crifoth, where only smart people die. All right, so we begin this game with that gray, somber sun dipping below the horizon as its last rays get blocked out by the sand, the endless sands of the wastes. You hear the creaking of petrified wood as this wooden wagon carries Bone Whisperer with four others behind her, with a crumbling stone man, one that goes by, "Oh, Dusty One Eye," as he pulls on the reins of a certain bounder, a bounder which leads this wagon with its strong shoulders and strong hind legs. A bounder named Attain. And in this wagon, you've trekked into the evening and now into the night. Soon the silence of the desert reaches your ears. Bone Whisperer, in this time alone in the wagon, have you gotten off and switched and let other people have a seat inside the wagon, or have you been selfishly keeping this seating to yourself the whole time?
I think that unless anyone really really appeared as though that they were having a difficult time, she just would have stayed in the wagon, whittling away at Gift's skull, making sure that it is absolutely pristine.
And so your stone blade strikes, shearing flesh, scraping cartilage, scraping off every bit of flesh from that bone of the companion that you once had. A companion who's now lost to the world of Crifoth. Carnage. What are you doing, saying, acting, thinking as you're following this wagon into the sunset?
A lot of time has passed since Gift's death. This new tiefling on the horizon is now following us. I think there's a lot going through Carnage's mind. Could he have done something? Could he have changed something? There's also these eerie thoughts about what he may have inadvertently done down in the dwarven mines, touching that obelisk and what it may have done. I think he's walking alongside this cart, and he's keeping an eye on Incubus very, very keenly, out of concern. And I think he looks to Zion if she's anywhere nearby.
You actually trust this one to go along with us?
I've trusted in him before, and I would do so again. Sparing trust, but it's much more trust than anyone else deserves in this wasteland.
What exactly do we expect to learn from this elf when we arrive?
You may ask Bone Whisperer. She knows more of this elf than even I. We know many things are locked within the eyes and ears and minds of our elven neighbors. They cling to these things. They cling to a past that is long gone.
He looks to you, still quiet and still thinking. And then he nods. I think he would then sort of walk along the side of the cart, and if he could, like rap on the side of the cart. If there's like I don't know if there's a window, like however this carriage is designed.
It's essentially 3 walls and a roof of just like planks of petrified wood. There's many gaps and seams and just sunderings of the wood itself. So it's
Right. Okay.
only like on a very minimal level protects you from any kind of wind or sand or anything.
Okay. So I think she could probably still hear me through it.
Yeah.
So he would rap against it to kind of get her attention.
Do you know anything about where we're going? What can you tell me about this elf?
Tally, I met him a few months after you had left, and before I had met Gift. He came on his bounder. He was searching for something, though he would not tell me what it was, and I didn't pry. But I welcomed him in return for knowledge. And he proved to be very useful in that regard. So I have met many ash elves, and though most claim to know of the past, their knowledge is nothing but half-truths passed down. Tally, he's different. He seeks things out, he knows things. It was my best guess.
At that, Carnage sort of looks to you with a concerned look through the small cracks in the wagon as he's walking alongside it. It's probably not going fast enough to where he has to run to keep up his long strides, just kind of keeping in tune. But he nods. Not in agreement, but in acceptance. And then he says,
I have not met an ash elf in person. This should be interesting. I hope you're right.
I think you would like him. I can't say that for most ash elves. Some of them are very stuck up when it comes to others. Especially those of... And she kind of looks to your horns, or your horn, of your kind. But He told me that he traveled with a tiefling once before, and he grew to trust them. So, he seems very worldly. Let us hope he knows something.
And what is Gobachun doing in this time, as the sun sets and the desert quietens?
Ever since we've set off, Goba's been alternately keeping an eye on the sky at the ready to cast her magic to shroud us if necessary, if there are any shadows observable in the sky. But she's also in a position where she can watch the bounder as it pulls the cart, and she's watching and studying the way it moves and the way it behaves and its general physiology while it's loping along. And to anyone else, she's just kind of spaced out between the two things.
Beyond that dark blot in the sky that you saw just moments before we ended the last session, you hadn't seen one since. It's been a very tranquil, quiet, almost too quiet of an evening. No scavenger birds roam the skies. No flocks of demon hordes flutter above in a drone of legions. No great terror of flame and fire scorches the world below. Emptiness. And then soon darkness of evening, of night. And with that, night comes cold as the world cools off ever so slightly, becoming less of an oven and more of a broiler, as it chills just a mere bit that gives a bit of reprieve. Incubus. The party has grown to distrust you, it seems, in the mere moments you've met them. How does this make you feel? What else do you think about? What else do you do as you follow them, as you follow this wagon?
Yeah, Incubus has been actually trailing the wagon, a bit behind, trudging along. He doesn't much care that they don't like him. He doesn't even really much care if his old friend doesn't like him. He has different priorities now, and he is only following along because it's slightly intriguing what Zion is interested in. It's probably a lost cause, but at the same time, if it's not a lost cause, that means that we might be closer to fixing the land that they all live in. He's very interested in that. But the group as a whole, they're just another squad to work with.
Whoa there! Whoa! As Dusty pulls in the reins of Attain and she stops. The wagon stops. Bone Whisper, you kind of lurch a little bit. It is here that we will rest. Attain grows weary. Dusty cries out in his deep, old, shaking, and what do we call it? Gravelly voice that only stones could muster. He veers off to the bottom of the dune as the wagon comes kind of rolling down. a little bit too fast for your comfort, Bone Whisper. You have to grab onto something for support. But soon you rest. And use some large rock outcropping as shade and shelter from winds. We will rest here for a wee bit until our chain gets her bearings once more. Come, join me by the fire. Dusty, old Dusty One Eye, says aloud. As he pulls himself off of the seat that he's upon and shows off his stump legs. Shows off his half-missing torso, where boulders that you imagine once fitted in nicely have long since grown loose or even fallen out entirely. As he climbs down, using these two great big arms, almost brachiating like an imp. Oh, sorry, like an ape. He's upon the soil now, the sand. His head is mere 3 feet off the ground. He's basically a severed torso as he grabs and pulls himself across the sand. Sits and begins to kind of rearrange rocks, dig out sand, kind of building himself a bit of a fire pit. And left to his own devices, Dusty One Eye will assemble and strike a fire. And soon that fire grows from a small ember to a warm, soothing, comforting firelight.
Goba walks a little ways out from the outcropping, several paces, and then stops kind of in the middle and just looks to the sky once again, and then mutters something and touches the air in front of her and causes the all familiar shimmer to surround the campsite.
I think that Bone Whisper would go up to Dusty One Eye. How much farther are we?
Once we start moving in the morning, we'll make it there before the killing, easily, lest we have any interruptions or other ill consequence. It is merely over that ridge.
When, if you don't mind...
It looks farther than it is.
If you don't mind me asking. Tali, when's the last time you saw him?
I last saw him when I had a knee. As he wiggles his stump leg.
I see. Do you happen to know how long that is? In days? Nights?
Very well, I will... Just let me ponder a moment. As he snaps off some of the brambles upon his body. He begins to crush them between stones. And he holds them in his hand, and he just puts his hand right in the fire. Just unassuming of it. And then his hand begins to smoke. And so too those roots in his hand begin to burn. He wafts them near his body, letting the smoke fill him with each breath. And after they've all burnt out, he kind of just dusts them off. The ash returning to the soil, to the sand. Much better. You see, I use the departure of my body as a way to tell time. You, lizardkin, use the passage of days, while I use the passage of my own body. Roughly, what you say, a week would be my partitioning. So roughly 6, 7, 8, 10 weeks by your count.
That is quite a long time. Hopefully nothing bad has happened to him.
Knowing Talia, I doubt that. Plus, Latane would let me know. She seems content. Determined to know. She knows her way. She's not lost. Like others who have lost their riders.
Bone Whisperer would just nod, and I think that she would actually without another word, she would just lie down and close her eyes, begin to rest.
She looks, Dusty looks to Goba.
You must be famished. I know you orcs eat much more than others. You're welcome to this fire, to cook your meats and to boil your waters. I will not be having any, for I do not get my sustenance that way.
Goba nods. Fire good.
Fire is good. Wise words.
Dusties. From shore. Sand spirit.
Yes, one may call me that. I've been called many things. The sand spirit, that has quite an elegance to it. I like it. Sand spirit. Sand spirit.
He kind of just mumbles it as he inhales more of his own smoke.
Goba actually chuckles.
He begins to kind of poke the fire. And you're free to basically like cook your meats and all that stuff with this flame. If you have any to cook. Boil any water you have that's of less tastiness than you'd want. And this will be a short rest.
Cool. Connor, I don't remember after last session, did I take an opportunity to mend my halberd?
Yes.
I did. Okay.
You formed it into a... Oh, that's right. Yeah, you kind of jury-rigged a longer shaft to it.
Yep.
Or we could have a long rest.
I think in the downtime between this, that's when you see Carnage. He takes some time to like make a couple provisions, heat some meat, prep it for the trip going out. But there's something bothering him, just eating at him, and it's incubus. And after a time, I'm just standing by the fire watching his food. He stands up. I think he approaches you. Incubus.
So you're a blood knight.
One day I was a blood knight, that's correct. And he's manipulating the fire in front of him to do different dances and such.
Funny. One day I was a blood knight too.
Interesting how that works out.
Yeah. Sure is. What was that before you returned?
The Blood Knights are who took me in.
So you're a criminal.
No. No, I'm not.
No, I didn't say are you now. I said were you then?
No. I was young. They saw something they could change into a weapon, I guess. I didn't agree with them, and so here we are. The Legion, Blood Knights, they're all the same. You want to force people to believe in ideals, one way or the other.
I can't say you're wrong. There's reasons why I am still not a Blood Knight. But you're too busy not liking me to find out. It's written all over your face. I am not what did this to you. You know that, right?
You represent the kind of cocky behavior that turned me into this. So yes. Forgive me if I see you as that.
But if you and I met in a pub and you didn't know Zion before you knew me, you wouldn't even know that this was a thing. So for you to hold something against something I haven't been a part of in better 10 years, or whatever the right answer to that is, I don't quite understand that. But that's okay. There's always unneeded conflict in any group that you work with.
So, Tiefling.
My name is Incubus, and yours is Carnage.
Yes.
Can we have pleasantries?
Forgive me. Exile to exile. Why were you ostracized from your Blood Knight?
I wasn't.
Then why do you say you're not a Blood Knight anymore?
Because I left that order. I renounced my knighthood. And I now have a different goal in this world. Do you know how many wonderful things there are under the sand? Not just that cavern that I found you in is the only interesting place that's under the world.
It seems like there's this long back and forth between the two of them, kind of posturing back and forth against this firelight, looking back and forth at each other. Eventually, Carnage just... When the demons come, we will see if you can hunt as well as you say you do. Then, perhaps I will respect you then.
Within a day or two, I'm going to be hunting demons myself. Because there's a reason I'm so vibrantly red. I enjoy feeding. That's what happens when you're born a tiefling. So that will be a very interesting thing for you and I to go do together, I believe. And probably Zion as well. She looks a mess, you know. It's not the woman I knew before. She was stocky and one of the best knights that I knew. I was happy to have her under my command.
He grunts at that, nodding a bit, and then he'll go back to cooking his meat on the fire. But you can start to see that the blood that he's taken in has already started to drain. Parts of his horns are now starting to pale out. The tops of his head is starting to pale. After how many days has it been now, Connor, since that feeding time?
4, maybe.
Yeah,
3.
3 or 4 days.
Yeah. So just like any levels, it's starting to pink and to grow white and then pink and then still red along the jawline, but slowly going back down into a non-red.
Yeah, and totally Incubus, is aware. And Zion again looks emaciated and like she's been held against her will, maybe. And I think he would take that time to maybe scooch over and ask Zion a few things.
She's staring into the fire quietly.
And he kind of, situates himself so he's sitting much closer to her. And out of the fire, he makes what looks like a little phoenix bird and lands next to her.
Do you think they feel it?
What?
When your leg falls off, do you think they feel it?
You mean the Incarnate?
Yeah, that thing. Could you imagine just your body falling apart?
No, actually. It's interesting way to go out. I met one time that was just only a head. He said he didn't have many days left, and I never saw him again. It's interesting way to go out. To know when your time's coming,
Just to wake up every morning.
A little
to
less,
see that
yeah.
little, it just passes.
Yeah.
Knowing full well, writing on the wall, your days are numbered. I mean, I know my days are numbered. But to just see it, inch by inch, it's your impending doom. Like it just tears someone down. She kind of shivers when she says that, despite it being very warm. She gets up and begins to pace a bit out into the darkness of the sand.
May I join you, my old friend?
Sure, yeah.
So, where'd you find them?
They found me. You know the Fire Gulch?
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Certainly.
That's where the rest of our crew got butchered.
So, you're still active within the Knights, then?
Technically speaking, yes, but I haven't had any contact with them in the past. Well, until you, but you claim you're not a knight anymore.
Because I'm not.
Because you're not. You always say that. No, it's all been silence. I don't even know if I'm a knight anymore. I don't wear their symbols, don't wear their colors. Heck, I'm only wearing rags at this point.
Yeah, we need to do something about that. Man, you need to feed. I can see that you're not.
And you can see that
yourself.
she's scratching. She's like scratching at her wrists, and at her face and her cheeks, and just a nervous scratching. Yeah, she mutters. Yeah, I do.
Well,
It's an ache that never dies.
it's an ache that I love. You know, I always had a thing for it. Kind of a drug to me.
You love the high, but not the downs. No one can love these downs.
I don't. You know, Zion, it's because the way that I come in my progeny, I don't know what you mean.
How long have you gone without?
Maybe in training for the knights when they see how long you can go. That's it.
Yeah, that was what, a week? 2 weeks?
I think it was yeah, somewhere in that range, like about 2
3
weeks.
months incubus. 3 months.
How are you? What is it like? Is it everything they? Did you want to eat yourself?
Imagine each bone in your body being snapped by one. Imagine all the blood vessels in your skin being ripped out by some tiny scarab or beetle or something.
I think I'd rather not.
Imagine your nails being ripped out and then shoved into your own eyeballs.
This sounds dreadful.
Imagine you bleeding from your ears until there's no more blood in your body. Now imagine all of these things happening at once for 3 months straight. Then there's the vomiting, the aching, times when your heart stops beating for a few minutes. You lie there, gasping for air that never fills your lungs. You clutch at the sand, at the rocks, at the bars that hold you in. You can't get that breath. And you sleep. But then you wake up again just for this torment to continue.
And you just experienced this.
That's the state they found me in. That's why I owe them my life.
It's all very dramatic. And sounds dreadful. But who placed you there?
I was captured. Don't know why they caged me for so long. Those blasted Suri.
They were Surrey.
I see it in Bone's eyes too sometimes. That same hunger that hundreds of eyes looked upon me. I tried and shake it, but I just can't.
I'm surprised you can even travel with her.
She did save me. Her and 3 others.
Yeah, there was a human girl, right? I saw her
Yeah.
torso. Did she fall in the lava?
She did.
Did she scream? Because I don't remember hearing anything, and I've been in the caves for.
She just sighs loudly and walks away from this, coming back to the fire, a little bit more disgruntled than before.
Yeah.
She's lost her own head right now. And she just seeks comfort by the fire.
And Incubus just watches the sky for a few, and then just takes an open spot on around the fire and gets his bedroll together and such, and finds himself off to sleep. Not very.
Rest easy, all of you. The morning will come quicker than you know, and we'll set off. Me, I'll keep watch with my one eye, the one eye that's seen many things. Double what the other saw. Rest easy, my friends.
As Dusty sits, I guess would be the best word for it, watch, next to the fire, every now and then taking puffs of his own burning root smoke. Attain lies the way that an animal would, sleeping in the sand, in some strange way that only an animal could find comfortable. And as you all fall into your slumbers, the red peeks over the horizon. As you wake, it burns your eyes as you stare into the sun just for a brief moment as you snap awake. Dusty is still there. He's poking at smoldering remains of a fire, long burnt out. Still taking puffs of smoke with long, deep breaths. He looks over at each one of you as some of you begin to stir, but he does not say a word. And he kind of like stridles over to Attain and wakes her up with a gentle yet firm, because he's made of stone, pats. Bone Whisperer, you're the first to awaken because you fell asleep the first. What do you do or say as the sunlight brings you from your slumber?
Bone Whisperer does the same thing every morning as the red begins to rise. She arches her back and she would stand and she kind of adjusts her scales and she almost turns towards the sun and stretches and almost seems to enjoy this warmth, though it is intense and hot. She is used to it. She's been used to it for many years and she welcomes it. Her cold blood warming. She stretches. A few of her bones crack, pop. She settles down, crouches, and begins to nibble on some rations, intermittently taking tiny sips of water, her tongue flicking out every so often to taste the air. She observes, she looks, she sees what the others are doing, how they are looking.
And the others rise from their slumbers as Dusty begins to waddle and set up Attain with her reins and hoist himself back into the driver's seat of this wagon. One by one, Carnage, Gobachin, and Incubus, and Zion, you all awake. to that warm, welcoming light of the sun.
Carnage is waking. His muscles have relaxed overnight, but the longer he's gone without eating, despite the rest, the weaker he feels. That demon blood was feeding him in the sense that he can't get now. And so when he rises, that red sort of casking over the white, making this pink shadow along the colors of his forehead. He looks to Dusty.
How long is the trek from here?
We'll be there before the killing. You see that sun poke over the horizon. When it makes its way,
And he like has a shaky hand here.
when it makes its way up there, we'll be there. We'll have arrived. Through Attain's pathfinding. She knows the way well. Me, I get lost sometimes, thanks. It's my only one eye.
All right, old man. Just guide us the way you need to.
I'm not doing the guiding. I'm merely following as you. But I am ready to go, and so is Attain. So you'd better follow soon, too.
He gathers himself, kind of dusting off the sleeping sores of sleeping, on the ground, on the stones, not really in a bed. And he'll gather up his halberd. Still kind of in rough shape, but it's holding together, and so for that, it works. He'll sheath it behind his back, and I think at that point he'll look to Gobachun.
Are you ready to go?
Are you? You look weak.
I will be fine.
I look around at the tieflings. Who looks the weakest out of all of them?
It would be a game of rock, paper, scissors between Zion and Carnage at this point. Incubus looks freshly fed. But both Zion and Carnage are showing their wear and tear.
Yeah, he fed the day before he met you guys.
I'm not gonna eat anybody. Gobachun looks between the tieflings and says, "Today someone ride." And she holds her staff against her body, and a glow emits briefly, and she suddenly becomes a bounder. Because I can.
What am I seeing? Two? Attain! Attain, come back, you... Get back into your bridle. Oh, you are in your bridle.
That's unsettling.
Dusty's very confused.
Dusty, Carnage will hold a hand out, trying to just get you to understand. Like I think it's okay.
He's
concerned, but I think it's okay.
Hold on.
Let me try something.
He just like there's some sickly bones, or not bones, like a stone snap, and like readjusts his own face with a big like sudden jerky movement. And like bits of gravel and shrapnel kind of just fall off to the dust.
No, it's still there. What were you saying?
I think our friend has secrets she has not told us.
That's the one who called me Sand Spirit.
Yes, that one.
Oh,
And I think at this point,
I don't
Carnage.
remember her being a bounder.
No,
How much did I smoke last night?
she's an... The orc has secrets, Dusty.
Hmm,
It seems as though we all do. To a
of
certain
course.
And I think at that point, Carnage, knowing that he's not weak in the slightest, will look to Zion.
I can walk. I can still travel by foot if need be.
As can I. Give it to the one with the old bones.
I believe she's already in the cart.
Turns around and... Oh, you're right. She is.
So, if our orc friend is offering, I would suggest you take it.
Very well. Thank you. And Zion carefully approaches Bounder Goba, kind of with an outstretched hand, just so that you can smell it, in case that's what a Goba Bounder would do. She's unsure. She's unsteady.
The bounder kind of snorts.
Do I just
And gets
climb?
down.
You'll let me know if this hurts or something, right? And she hops on, uneasy at first, trying to, a little bit off balance, maybe even like causes your weight to shift heavily because she's not climbing on properly. But then she's finally seated in optimal riding position eventually, whatever that may be. I'm not a person who rides bounders. I would not be able to describe it. But she has her balance. Her weight is distributed properly.
Are we ready to go? The sun won't wait for us. All right, Attain. How about her?
And with a sound that is not a horse-like sound, but rather a bounder sound, the wagon begins to creak on its creaky, petrified wheels. With the sound of crushing sand under the wheel, as you all trek towards the sun. And in the harsh sunlight, Carnage, Incubus, and Zion will be getting one in a point of exhaustion, and Gobo will get two as the ridee. And this journey is a quiet, tranquil one. It is upset only by the sand ending after many hours of travel. Almost ending as a sheer drop-off. Where the ground gives way, as if a giant splintering or shattering, a sundering of the world had happened here. As you see that telltale sight of chasms and canyons and split earth that is well known in the Badlands of Crifoth, where you see giant mounds of soil and sand and dust and stone reach higher into the sky, great drop-offs, great pits, great valleys, great canyonways, each home to many wonders and dangers.
Hey, we follow this path here. The Tane knows it well. Be careful, it's some little narrower than I'd like. Sometimes one of the wheels slip. We don't like it when one of the wheels slip.
And so on, it continues to creak as the wheels do. And then you see smoke billow up off in some distance. It's not just one mote of smoke, it's many that seem to accumulate into one greater pyre. And as you get closer and closer, you can distinguish it more and more. As you finally, after you pass through many winding canyons, up many hills and down many cliffs, following this creaking wagon, guided by a bounder and a one-eyed man of stone. You see, at first, a river flowing free. It was not a river of water, you think. It looks like a river of blood with its deep red crimson color. But it does not smell of blood. It does not smell of demon blood. As you look and get closer, it's a bit clear, a bit of translucency to it. It is orange in color now. A dark blood orange. And it flows like a river would, down, over stones, through gaps. The wagon follows it upstream, next to it.
That is the river of, well, it's the Red River. Redrun is upon this river. Do not let its look deceive you. It is water, as rare as that may be. We will stop if you wish to get a drink. I know that your kind always has dusty throats. Dusty throats. I will let a Tane drink for a moment. This is your chance. You hear me, Bone Whisper? This is your chance to get some water if you need some.
Are you sure you want to drink from that water?
I'm not drinking from this water.
Are you sure you want to let a Tane drink from that water?
I'm sure she's drank from worse.
I'm fine, thank you. I will pass.
Very well. The offer still stands for the three of you. 4, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 4 of you.
And Zion looks, and she grabs a bit of a skin that she has on her person, and she goes up to the river. She wets her fingers, sniffs it, and then licks it just for a bit. Kind of puckers her lips a bit, and ends up dipping the skin into the water and letting it fill.
After she disembarks from my back, I drop form back to Goba. Whoa. And I take my 2 water skins down to the river and fill them. And I beckon to everyone, come, fill water.
We'll need to boil it or something. I don't know what it causes to be red, but
Goba fix. Fill water.
very well. And she just continues to plunge and inflate her skin even further.
Put skin on ground. And
Watching
Goba
her,
waits
it's
while...
Carnage. Yeah, Carnage would have followed suit.
Bone Whisper would have reluctantly as well.
They're complaining about the water. I'll never understand them. They say they want water. and they complain about the water. Pick one.
Goballs her staff over her head, mutters a prayer. Lowers it 3 times around the pile of skins. And I cast Purify Food and Drink, which you advised me to pick up.
And thus it seeps out of the skins as if like sweat from pores. Little beads of this super dark red syrup that splash onto the sand and almost crystallize as they meet the sand as they dry up. And it sparkles with almost like a silvery glint, a reddish glint. And as more and more of these drops accumulate, it's almost like a little bead of iron has formed, a little surface, a coating, upon the stone that it's fallen upon. Rusted iron, but iron nonetheless. The skins themselves are crystal clear.
Well, now you've had your water. We will go and follow this canyon way. Be careful, though. Will not make much sounds here, lest something chance upon us. Be very quiet. The locals, they fear whatever stalks these ways. I have not seen it with my eyes or my eye, but it's easy to give caution to tales.
Move carefully. And Goba waves that staff around, and the sand begins to swirl up around everybody. Pass without a trace. Just burning through them spell slots.
And thus the creaking of the wheels ceases. No tracks are left in the dust as you all pass without a single trace. And with this cloaking ability, it is one more uneventful trip up this hill, a winding way. All of you gain one more point of exhaustion as the sun continues to beat down more fervently now at its greater height, no longer blocked by canyons or ridges. And you see it now, tucked away in this canyon way, where it opens up a bit, where the water of this red river deepens and widens. You see canvases upon canvases, some perched up on the ground, some built into the side of the canyon wall. You see a goat, not just one, not 3, a dozen or more goats, each with their blemishes, their tarnished fur, but goats nonetheless that bleat and baa and pick at whatever sparse vegetation there is in this place. You notice that the vegetation itself, it crops up around this river. Little weeds here and there pushing through the soil. What small, meager sign of life still stands is here in this valley. You see where the smoke is coming from. You see many fires of many people sitting and standing around these fires, some cooking meat, some tanning furs, some doing other villager-like activities in this place. It stretches farther than you can see. It winds past around a bend. By a quick guesstimation, you can see there's probably over 100 people here.
This, my friends, is Redrun. And this is where my pilgrimage ends. This is where Attain will leave me. You can follow her. She'll lead you to that ash elf you seek. But I think I'll spend the rest of my days here with all the things I've collected to help me pass the time. Thank you for your journeys with me. It was good to have new faces to greet this old boulder of me. Thank you. Before you go, I have one last gift for you. You may take one thing from my wagon. Whatever you like, whatever your eyes fancy, it is yours. A parting gift, you may say. I want you to remember old Dusty as a friend as I see you. No, go on, don't be shy.
I think Carnage would raise an eyebrow at this. Kindness and giving and just generosity of any kind is very rare in Crifoth.
You want to give us...
I have more things there than I have days left of my life. If I were to spend each day looking at something new, I'd run out of days before I run out of things to look at. They have no use to me. You may take one, each of you.
All right, old man.
Why do you call me old? I'm younger than you, most likely.
Let's see what you've collected around these sands.
And he'll take a look at the bits and the baubles that you have. And you're muted, by the way. Just FYI.
Same with the Bone Whisperer. Since she was already in the back, she'd just be kind of perusing.
I feel like Carnage would like be poking his head in, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you're still sitting in here. Hi, how are you?
Okay, anything good in there? Yeah.
Hey, have you had an opportunity to look in the cart and see if there's anything good? Like, I'd like to know. Insiders trading tips, please."
What kind of things are in here?
They would be rolls on the trinket table.
Ooh. Let me get my book. I think that Bone Whisperer would definitely have probably taken a couple. She would have taken 2 things.
Ooh.
When she was riding.
What a
not knowing that he would allow them to take one, but then she would also take one. If that's all right with you, the GM.
Yeah.
If you want me to
That's
roll
fine.
something, I can.
Now, Dusty has no perception ability.
Super happy he stood watch then. Just saying.
Everyone finds that all your belongings are gone too. Huh? Someone must have stolen them in the night. As little stone-minded Dusty.
There you go.
And I say stone-minded because of not his make, but his activities.
Yeah, Incubus would certainly be interested in taking something, and would thank Dusty for his hospitality and finding a way for us.
Oh, it's nothing. They are of no use to me. Unless I'm miscounted, but even then, if I have miscounted, I'll have a day to find something new to look at.
Yeah. So I found an obsidian shiv wrapped in cloth.
Yes, you kind of parse through like the bits of pottery and canvas and little painted stones, and you find this obsidian shiv wrapped in a cloth, and you peel back this cloth, and there it is. It's kind of strange how it looks. It catches your eye, and perhaps you take it.
I show it to him. I say, "This is fine, right?" It's
Absolutely. That skeleton is no use to me.
Bone Whisperer would be looking. She sees a glint in the corner, and it catches her eye. This is something in addition to what she's already pocketed, which happened to be this tribal pipe made of dried cactus. But she sees something else. A small glass container. It's very rare, and she would go and it would be full of demon blood. She takes it and she pockets it quickly. She goes out and she turns to Dusty. I appreciate us coming along with you. You have shown us great kindness. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for reciprocating the kindness of a stranger. Something that is rare in this world, yet sorely missed, if it's even noticed at all. May your journeys be safe. May you find meaning in the things you seek to do. And rest well when the time comes. Rest easy.
Bone Whisperer would nod and she would start walking towards Atane, putting a bony hand on Atane's fur, waiting for the others.
And Atane kind of recoils a bit from your touch. Her ears kind of swivel back. She sniffs. But she seems a little bit more, not like hostile, just very, not even agitated, just very like attentive or listening or something going on. Kind of a...
And I think that Bone Whisperer...
Not even at ease, yeah, like not at ease.
Yeah, I think that Bone Whisperer would... she would kind of let out this low whistling noise to try and soothe Atane.
Do you give me an animal handling check?
I would. That's a 14.
She recognizes that you mean no harm, but she still kind of seems to be listening for something or watching for something. But she's not directing her anger at you or even any kind of hostility at you. She kind of looks back out of the corner of her eye, just seeing when the others will come. So what did Carnage find in his perusing through the bits of pottery and bits and bubbles?
Okay. I like what I rolled, so I'm going to keep it. Yeah. There's something about Carnage that he looks around, and the one thing that really seems to be sticking out to him, it doesn't seem like, it's not metal, it's not anything of real importance, but hanging off the side of the cart, kind of basically in a weapons rack, for all intents and purposes. It looks like this vertebrae that's just hanging from the wall. But as you look closer, the vertebrae has been sharpened into spikes. The edges have been sharpened, and there's a hilt on the back end. He grabs this out from the weapons rack, and it's a whip that has been crafted out of a spine. He recognizes this, I'm going to assume, as a legionnaire's whip, probably that has been gathered from an old slave camp. And he grabs up this whip and wraps it around his hands. And there's something satisfying about having that weapon of brutality in his hands.
This was used by the Legion, wasn't it?
Are you speaking to me? Oh, that thing there. Well, there's a funny story. Do you know what the Legionnaires do with those who disobey?
I can
They turn him into a whip. How ironic.
So this was a former tiefling.
Yeah.
All right. Something about that seems fitting, allowing this poor soul to reap retribution on the Legionnaires. I could see myself enjoying that a little bit.
What did you find? Go, Redrun.
Goba's holding metal hollow semicircle. She was probably drawn to it because her tribe works with metal. And she's turning it over and over in her hands.
I'm glad you like it. I don't know what it does or what it's used for. You can have it.
Goba, take. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
From shore. Sense.
I still don't know what that means. Thank you. From shore to you too. And with this, I will leave you now. Well, I guess you will leave me, for I cannot move very far without a Tane to guide me. We'll follow her, she knows the way. If you have a need of an old dusty folk like me, you can find me. Somewhere near here, I won't have moved far.
Attain seems nervous, kind of like anxious, kind of building up tension. You can feel the Bone Whisperer. You can feel like every inch of her muscles wants to just like leap forward and just like sprint forwards, but she holds herself back. She's periodically looking out of the corner of her eye back behind her. It's finally the four of you. As you see Zion kind of thumb something and pocket it before any of you can kind of see it. And then Attain goes, and Attain leaps, and you can barely catch up to her, or even keep up at all, Bone Whisperer. And the others behind him. And Attain passes, just sprints, almost knocking over a villager with a basket with some kind of objects in it, sending her almost flying, whoa, reeling back. But from this, we'll shift perspectives. Tally, you hear her wheezing, labored breaths. Her chest barely rises and falls. You see the blood leak from her eyes, from her nose, and from her mouth, and even from her ears, too. You're watching over her right now. You're sitting upon some soft furs, looking over at her body. You smell the incense that hangs in the air. What do you say to her, if at all, anything?
You can make it. You can pull through. And then he leans back, rubs his face. You have to pull through. And he says this lower. I need you.
Then all of a sudden, the canvas door that, no, it's not even door, the canvas flap that keeps this tent closed just gets flung open by this great towering beast. This bounder comes just bursting in, knocking over something that's next to this. Maybe a table that holds a little bit of a canteen of water gets spilt. Splashes and crashes on the ground, the pottery breaking.
At first it's, what the? And as he almost stumbles out of his seating arrangement, he stumbles to his feet and looks and sees that it's his bounder, Attain. And he just changes his countenance and smiles greatly and opens up his arms.
And Attain comes in for that embrace. And you feel that warm fur, although you feel new scars upon her flesh. Mats of fur that weren't there before. It's been a rough trial, you can sense. But she's made it through. She always has and she always will. She's a strong, powerful beast. And soon following this bounder, who would be the person most likely to keep up with a sprinting bounder?
Not Bone Whisperer.
Probably Carnage, honestly.
Carnage is the first to burst through this tent. He's huffing and puffing with labored breaths. Carnage. You see in this tent, it's been kind of knocked asunder by this bounder that's leapt through. You can see that the central pole has been knocked askew. The canvas is a little bit lopsided now. You see an ash elf holding the hand of a woman lying horizontal on a makeshift bed in this tent. A heavy scent of incense fills the air, as well as the stink of a person who has not moved in many weeks. That bed stink.
sorry for that. Am I disturbing something? I'm sorry. I didn't think that she would bound right in here.
Well, she is a bounder after all, and she is mine. And he rubs her head vigorously, and does offer his hand now. The name is Tally. Who are you?
He looks at your hand, and for a long time, he kind of doesn't take it. I think there's this, like, odd standoff. And then he gives you that courtesy handshake.
Carnage is the namesake. It's nice to meet you, Ash Elf.
You look over.
I'm sorry we couldn't meet under better circumstances.
Are there such a thing as better circumstances in this world? It's no matter.
Soon thereafter, Bone Whisperer and Gobachun and Zion follow behind.
Bone Whisperer would walk in.
Hello, Tally. It has been a long, long time.
Yes, it has. Kind of squints his eyes, trying to recall.
You may not remember me. You stayed a night in my small hut while you were traveling, searching for something. I'm not sure.
The light of recognition kind of pings in his eyes. Oh, yes. Yes, I recall. This is a long way from there.
Yes, we are coming on a bit of urgent business. And you seem to be, well, I believe you can help us.
I have my doubts. I am locked here with her. He sort of gestures to the obviously sick woman.
And I think Bone Whisperer would go over to the woman on the bed, kind of look over her.
Do you know what is wrong?
I think it's a combination of an illness, which I can't identify, and just her advanced years. I don't even know if there's anything that can be done.
Then I will help you. At least we can make her passing painless, easy. If she doesn't pull through. If she does, then praise the sun.
He sort of kind of grimaces and looks the other way. As much as a smooth passing would make me feel at ease for her, I have my own desires, and for that, require just a moment with her away. She just needs to live for a moment. This, I'm sure, is not what you came to talk about, however. What favor are you looking for?
Not a favor, just some information. Some help. You have always been kind, Tally. Or at least you were. You spoke so fervently of knowledge and finding the truth.
Nothing has changed in that regard. I search my own knowledge, in fact, as I have since before I met you. Perhaps I can help you. First, tell me what it is you seek knowledge of.
And she would look to Carnage, since he was there with her, and they both saw the drawings, and we saw these drawings in these crypts. And they had elves on them, but not you, ash elves. Before you. Before your kind.
He sort of starts to look around, and he kind of leans in and he says, "Where were you? What crypts were you seeing? This is not something skewed out in the landscape. Where were you?"
She would actually look to Zion.
Was there a name for these places?
Bubba blurts out, "Womb Tomb."
Yes. The Womb Tomb. Where great harbingers have been slumbering, but now some have awoken. I'm not sure if you have heard of these harbingers.
Well, I've heard of things. And there's no denying that things have gotten worse. Never could have thought that was possible before. But it seems it is. Of these old elves, I know very little. Perhaps I can help you. And truly, I wish I could do it simply out of kindness. However, I do find myself in dire need of assistance as well.
That is fair.
I do not know if you will say so once you hear what I have to ask. I must stay here with her. As I have said, I don't have much hopes of healing her or saving her in any way. My needs are selfish ones, and I simply need to see if she will come around for even just a few minutes. I cannot leave her side until then, or until she passes. She may hold information that could change everything for me. But I have to hedge my bets. And there was another route that I had to pursue, information I need. However, I cannot follow up on that lead while I'm here, and so there is my conundrum. What I would need you to agree to is to take something for me to a man named Heston Jervit. He's drawing a map for me, and in return for this item, he will give it to you, and I need you to deliver it to me. If you can do that, then I will tell you all I know. The old elves.
It seems there might be a catch.
Not in the delivery of the item. Well, other than I suppose it is a bit of a desired item. And he sort of goes back over towards the bed, and he starts to unwrap a like oilcloth, long, cylindrical, and brings it over. As he flips open one side of it, you would see a blood obsidian sword. And he says, and he folds it back quickly and ties it back up. This would be what you'd be delivering.
That is quite a dangerous item you have.
Where did you get something like that?
The way you would usually get a sword like that, by prying it from the cold, dead hands of the one who held it before.
There is more to you, Ash Elf, than I assumed.
He sort of does the close-eye nod. I feel generous today, and I trust you for some reason. I'll tell you this, Bone Whisperer. I will tell you what I know before you go, because I have my fears that it isn't as much as you will hope for. But if it's anything for you to go off at all, I hope you'll keep your word and conduct this task for me. Do you agree?
Gobachin would nod, and she takes out a small skull. The skull is of a Quickfoot, Suri. She places a hand on it.
I swear by my kin. That we will deliver. What you need.
And he just looks over at Attain for a second. Just, people who love their dogs trust their dogs to judge people. So he's kind of just looking over there, GM, and hoping to get a little bit of positive feedback from his pet.
Attain has smelt the smell of Bone Whisperer before, and she seems content. She has dropped her guard here, but that's because of your presence, or just even in the presence of company. She doesn't often drop her guard to the extent that she is with right now.
So he shakes his head. He feels comfortable in this. He says, gather around. Gather around shortly. Any you want to hear this? And he kind of looks around and says, he pulls out a pipe, and it's empty. He says, your travels haven't taken you past any smoke grass, has it? No. No, okay. He puts the pipe back, just sort of disappointed, and leans forward. Says, since I was a boy, I was told by my grandmother, the tribe storyteller, the entertainers and storytellers of the other tribes, of the wooden spire, the seat of happiness, the home of the Seelie, the tower of power, the different names it was known by depending on the tribe may have varied, but it was always a place of great magic and mystery. It was said that once all elves lived around the spire, and that all elves prayed at the tower. When the first apocalypse came, some of the wisest elves told the tribes that the Seelie and the spire they inhabit would protect us and all of our people, but it would require a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice, the sacrifice of the chieftains' lives. Each tribe must offer a chieftain, it was said, on the stone altars around the spire. In the end, most of the chiefs scoffed at the wise ones. They claimed that the wise ones were maneuvering. Really, they were just too cowardly to accept their fate. 2 of the chieftains did lay down their lives. And when the suns burned hotter and hotter, it is said that those chieftains' tribes thrived and their lands were kept hidden and safe, while the rest of the chiefs' tribes were cast out to the winds. Those cast out chiefs, one of them was my ancestor, so I tell you this with great shame. But the other tribes, for all we know, are said to still live on the spire. I cannot tell you where it is, or if I knew where it was, assuredly you can tell that I would already be there. Supposedly a land of water, rain. But the legend says that while you can't see it with your own eyes, you can sometimes see it when your eyes stare into yourself. This is the words of the legend. This is all I can say.
Bone Whisperer would blink a few times. From that image, would any of what he was saying kind of correlate with the image that they saw?
Definitely the story of a tower and the story of a forest would make sense, given between the drawings and his own storytelling.
That does sound like the drawings we saw in the tomb. Though that last part is cryptic, as stories often are.
Well, let's take a few moments and see if we can figure this one out.
I don't mean to be pessimistic, but I always assumed that it was just one of those stories that tell you to look inside yourself for the answer that old ones are always telling. Right? For all I know, that is what it is. Nothing more.
Probably not. Probably not.
I think Carnage would look to Tali.
There were others in the drawings. Small men. I don't know what they're called.
Dwarves.
Yes.
Was there anything in your ancestors' teachings
They would have told you about those.
any deals that were made between your clans?
The dwarves were said to be even older than the elves from which we sprang. It was the dwarves' creations that made the tower possible in the first place. But those legends are even more shadowed, more obscured by time.
I figured I should ask.
if we're going to try to find this place, it's the more we know, the better.
Perhaps with what you've told us, and what we have told you that this might, or these stories might have some merit, perhaps we shall both reflect on the words. We shall go do your errand, and when we return we can speak more fully. I know I must reflect on these words. She looks to the others to see what they think.
I believe that is not a terrible idea, Bone Whisperer. It is, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The murals that are in the cavern down there, but it clearly comes from a time before any one of us know. Why would there not have been a treaty or an agreement? They were going up against what we know as the Harbingers. That would be the same. We'll have to all band together to change all this world. Just foretelling.
Was there anything else? And she's talking to Incubus. Is there anything else that you remember from these murals that you can tell Tali? My memory is not what it used to be.
Well, what I can tell you is that it's what there's not on these murals. And that's an ending. Does anybody really know what happened? Why are there no more dwarves? Why are there no elves that aren't like you, here, Tali? Why is there no small folk? We've been told of that too.
Carnage would then speak up.
I remember seeing an orb. Is there any recollection of an orb in your teachings?
There was once a story I had heard of, as I said, before the tower, those times are shadowed. But there's a story that the tower was not built by elves or dwarves, but rather large creatures made of the earth and wood and water itself. They were controlled by the blessed orbs of the dwarves. Supposedly, they were their hearts. Again, most of us considered this metaphor when we heard it as children. That's the only thing I've ever heard referred to as an orb. They were more commonly called hearts of the elemental by my tribe.
Thank you, Charlie.
I think he looks over your shoulder and he sees the woman lying in the bed.
I do not know who she is, but I hope she gets better.
Goba grunts.
Thank you.
Shoves you out of the way. Ugh, I look.
Fine.
I have an herbalism kit for whatever good that'll do. I have no idea what that does in Crifoth.
It is a leaf and a stick. No, it is your assortment of poultices and sometimes things that aren't even made of herbs, maybe even the juices of a beetle or the blood of certain creatures and so on and so forth. Herbal remedies.
Goba's gonna give this figure, this woman lying on the pallet, a once over, and determine that yeah, she's pretty much a goner. But she's going to open up her herbalism kit and pull out a couple of insect carapaces and start to grind them up, and it makes a smell that's more pungent than the incense that's in the surrounding tent. And she holds it under the nose of the unconscious woman.
And she does not respond. You might expect a nose twitch or something. But she lies there still. Unmoving, untwitching. And as you look upon this nose, as the smoke fills it, or the scent fills it, you see that a bit of black is mixed in with the blood that's bleeding from her nose.
Oh. And I nudge Bone Whisperer and go, tainted.
Does Bone Whisperer see this as well? This black.
Yeah, upon pointing it out, it's almost obvious.
You must get this
Tally
woman.
will like. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. She turns to Tally. You must get this woman out of the Redrun.
And Tally was trying to wipe it away quickly when he saw it. And then kind of looks at you and says, "There's no chance if I take her outside the Redrun. I know what will have to happen if she comes to, but I only need a moment."
Goba, try one more. Big. And Goba... No, I can't believe I'm fucking doing this. Goba lays her hand on the forehead and begins to chant something. And her hand begins to glow. And I'm casting Lesser fucking Restoration.
And your hand glows, and that glow spreads, and the pallor of her skin fades away, rejuvenated by the light of the sun, the light of the stars that you channel with your hand. And as this light creeps across her face, her eyelids kind of flutter. They do not open, but they flutter a bit. And as the light reaches her nose, almost like a big black tarry worm, something climbs out of her nose. It's thick. And with a plop, it lands on the ground next to the bed.
Ooh, kill it, kill it, kill it.
And it continues to slither in its slimy way across, just panicked and confused and in pain. It's about maybe half a foot long when it's fully emerged, as it slides underneath the bed and within the folds of the furs.
Could a Bone Whisperer try to hit it with her stick?
Yeah,
With her
it's
staff?
slow moving enough. Roll me some damage. You can auto hit it.
Okay. That is a 9.
You cleave it in two with the blunt end of your staff, and this thick, long, worm-like creature continues to wiggle and worm itself away, but in opposite directions now. One half going this way, the other half going the other way. Each as if it had a mind of its own.
Incubus is going to use Mage Hand and pick up one of the ends with the Mage Hand.
And it dangles and it drips some slicky green blood drop by drop out of this gaping just severing of its body. The other end has just scuttled completely out of sight within the folds of furs and canvases.
If any of you've seen this before,
Bone Whisperer and Gobachun can make medicine checks if they so wish. And even Tally, I guess, can technically make a check.
I got a 26.
oh snap.
I got an 11.
Gobachun, you know nothing about this. It surprised you when it came out of her nostril. You thought it was affliction plaguing her body, but seeing some kind of worm climb out has taken you just by surprise. Bone Whisperer, you've heard of these worms before. In fact, you actually had to cure someone of it. They're parasitic worms, almost like lampreys or leeches, that will burrow inside your flesh and suck upon your blood from within. And you can see it now dangling from Incubus's skeletal mage hand. It has small, many like serrated fangs that form a circle on one end. A feeding leechy mouth.
Taint has teeth.
That is no affliction, but it should be gotten rid of. Straight away. Far away.
And with that, Incubus exits from where they are and walks a bit with his mage hand following him. And once we're in a bit of a clearing or something of that effect, or even an area, I don't want to do that. In a clearing or whatever, he uses whatever spell would be necessary. Fireball. Fire blast would probably be enough. And if I don't, I'll just keep fire blasting it. Or fire bolting, sorry. Until it ceases to be ash.
Yeah, and you smite it one by one with just a gout of flame. It sizzles and it cooks and roasts and it squeals as only some parasitic, strange, worm-like creature could. And what is left is only some black and burnt husk that smells acrid. And it is dead. Beyond dead. And Tally, you see this woman. She is still slumbering. But her face looks easy. It's almost as if a smile has creeped across her face. Something you've not seen her wrinkled form do in many, many months. Long before even she became sick as she is. The color has returned to her skin, but she still does not wake.
And Tally's right there next to her. When the worm came out, he just went right to her and has been trying to kind of tap on her cheeks like, hello, wake up.
And
He's
she does
been
not
completely
respond.
preoccupied there.
You see her chest rise and fall. She's alive. You can tell that for sure. But she's not waking up.
She will
He would
hopefully
look to Gobachum. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
He just wants to tell Gobachum, you have clearly done a great service. I think she will wake up eventually.
But
Sorry, I don't know if
not
you heard that. My whole house just shook.
May want to find the other end of that worm.
We should go. Start out delivering that obsidian.
I think Carnage would look at it, and he would be willing to carry it if we need to just carry it. He'd be willing to hold on to it for the time being.
Thank you, Tally, for trusting us, giving us something to think about.
Tali kind of grabs the sword and kind of holds it out, and then just says, "No, thank you." And he was like looking at the sword and then back at the woman. Just thank you for everything. I have a chance. I will also ask her when she awakens if she can help at all with this riddle from my memories.
I think Bone Whisperer would just nod and with one final nod to Tally, she would turn and leave.
Carnage would nod, and then look to you as he's taking the sword.
It is good to see that there is at least some hope left in this miserable pit. I will do my best to bring this where it needs to go. You have my word.
He nods deeply in return.
And with that, the four of you set out from the tent. Do you wish to mingle amongst the town a bit before your departure, or do you set out right away?
I think Bone Whisperer would be wanting to go, but if others wanted to stay, she would reluctantly do so.
The only thing that I think Carnage would be kind of keeping an eye out for would be somewhere where he could probably repair that halberd hilt properly before they embark. He wants to be able to defend and protect those around him, so he wants to find something where he can repair his weapon before he leaves.
I should mention that Tali would have said, "Oh, Goba's still in the tent." Goba, I would realize, Tali would hit his head. "I didn't tell you where to meet him." And he says, "But Connor, I'm a little bad with the landscape here and how far away it is. So, you want to tell me maybe what I'm telling them?"
There is a tree, a single tree that stands alone, solitary yet proud. A tree that is dead, but once had great life. A tree that has a grove, a dead grove. A tree that you remember well, Tally. And you can go ahead and tell me what that place is like.
It was a place where my tribe used to go, and it from afar it looks like a healthy tree, but now it is basically just a bone white tree with this like growth on it, almost like a mossy I'm sorry, I was reading the chat, making sure I wasn't talking about a different tree. Like a mossy, webby growth that actually looks like leaves from a distance, but it's not. And when you get close, you realize it's just a monument to death and decay. The tree itself just is 100% dead. It just refuses to fall.
And that is where this meeting place is. Of course, Tali's relaying this information to Goba. And it is Goba that knows this. It'll be Goba's duty to tell them in the future what this place will be. And with that, we're going to draw a close to this scene as we are far away now. We're looking through eyes that only see in shades of black and white and gray. We see double, no triple, no quadruple, even more visions, doubled upon layers of overlaid vision. It's hard to parse with our human minds, but we try anyways to parse it still. And we focus on one of these visions. We see through eyes that we can make sense of it. We see ourself to our left and ourself to our right. These many heads, black as ink, black as night. We see them dance. We see them flick their oily tongues. We see the hundreds of them. We see the ground we walk upon. We see the sky dark as night. We scratch our mighty claws into the ground as we pull ourselves further and further. We feel wetness on our talon. We look down. It's water in a thin river. A river that flows red, but not to this creature's eyes. It only sees in grays. It follows this river, stride by stride. Its body barely fits through these canyons. The ground shakes. The many heads snap. One reaches out and scratches and catches a scarbird mid-flight. Devours it whole. It's a tiny morsel. It trudges on. And that's where we're ending the session today. With our guest NPC. I guess is it a PC or NPC? I never know when it's a person. So anyways, thanks for joining us, people in the chat, people in the real world game, and also people in the online game too. I speak of real world people as if they exist, and they do not. With that being said, this was Crifoth. This was a Distant Meadows was the name of this session, and with that being said, we will just draw this to a close. We will go with Rory first. Go and give us your big spiel about the stuff that you're doing now, and just kind of introduce yourself to the crowd.
Hey, I'm Rory. Mostly online presence is kind of limited to Name Productions. We have a YouTube channel. Mostly what we're trying to do is just pull together other GMs and help them kind of gussy up their games with some overlays and things like that. And in return, they put their games on our channel. So it's one place where you can come and see games that will kind of look the same, be consistent, but be ran by different GMs. So you can see everybody's kind of flavor and style. And that's about it. We'll have some things coming this month, but there's not much up there right now. But if you subscribe to us now, then you'll get the notifications when they come on. And thank you for having me, Connor. This was a load of fun, and it's always great to play Tali. A missed character, for sure.
And may we see him again in the future, perhaps, mayhaps, maybe he will die, who knows.
This is
The GM is a
Crifoth.
fickle
I
one.
can accept that.
Tamiko, go ahead and
Oh.
introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, I'm Tamiko. I have no channel. You can find me here on Dice on Ice with these guys, or on Twitch, on my friend Lunchbox's channel on Wednesdays. And that's pretty much it. Hey, did you get the book? Buy the book. Look at this book. So lovely. That's all I got.
Thank you, Tamiko. All right, Corey, you're up.
Hey guys, I am Corey. It's always a pleasure to be playing this game. It's so different than most any other game I've ever played. It always keeps me on my toes. And we know them momentarily because sometimes you fall in love.
I'll just cut you off right there. I've had too many jokes for the day. Chad, you're up.
Oh man. Okay. Hi guys. My name is Chad. You can find me over at my YouTube channel by my name, Chad Nick, Knick, and I'm also 1/3 of a podcast called The Dudes of Yore with my buddies Jeremy Lilly and Jeff Doty. And then I'm usually over here at this channel, which is why you don't see as many games over on my channel, because I spend way too much time over here playing with these guys. No, I absolutely love this game. I love these characters, and it's really cool to see this kind of quest building and unfolding. And Rory, it was lovely to see you, buddy. I'm really happy to see Tali again. And kind of get that moment. That was super cool. Yeah, really excited. Also, shit scared of what's to come. But Dice on Ice, guys, it's killer. You should go out and get Crifoth. I love this setting so much. It's become a part of my life now, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Thanks, guys.
And lastly, Megan, you're up.
Hi.
Do the shill thing.
Hi. I'm here. I'm on this channel because I own half of it. And, yeah, check it out. Tomorrow, hopefully, although I also said that yesterday in the stream, but tomorrow, look on this channel for something bit different than what we normally do. A different kind of video, something that we're really excited to put on, to release to the world. So, yay.
And thank you. And everyone have a good night. And Megan, can you take us the Crifoth out of here?